Well, good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing?
I'm good.
Good.
Hey, folks.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good, good.
Good.
There, people are starting to show up.
Yep.
Uh,
We'll wait another minute or two. Let a few more people join. Are any of you guys planning on coming to the auction and the Dick Dilschneider Memorial this Saturday?
I'm going to try to make the auction.
Yeah. Nice.
I plan to be there to help set up.
Yeah, I'll probably be there to help set up, but I don't think I'll be able to stay for the rest of the event.
I had planned to try and be at the memorial itself, but it turns out I have to be in Spokane to a different memorial for my
Oh,
brother-in-law.
yeah. Oh.
So we're kind of all getting to that age where these seem to be too regular of events.
Mm-hmm. Yep, unfortunately.
Well, I think I've been enlisted to be the auctioneer.
Oh, well done.
Oh yeah, that's right. Uh-huh.
So, Myron, I'll bring you that steam engine again.
Oh yeah, yeah, that'll be great. That's
I
really
brought it
cool.
last time, but you weren't there again.
Again, yeah, we got out of sync there for sure. But yeah, it's everybody looked at the pictures of the radios and stuff.
Mhm.
I hope we
Yeah.
have I hope we have buyers for the Deal Snyder stuff. The reserves are
Yeah.
kind of,
Hmm.
I mean, they're not that bad, but for our crowd,
Yeah, I thought the numbers looked like that was going to be a tough sell
yeah.
Hmm.
because that's the starting numbers, right? And
Yep, that's the reserve. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be nice to have one of his in my collection. Uh, Part of the collection is about the stories that go along with them and the people that they remind you of and that sort of.
Hmm.
He'd be a good one to have one of his radios.
Yeah, for sure.
When it sounds like they're working, like they've been, updated.
Yeah.
So I
Hmm.
think that's why the price is where they're at.
Yeah, he restored a lot of radios.
Well, somebody picked up some radios they're selling along with it, aren't they? Some other ones someplace else.
Yeah,
There's
there's some other yeah, you can go ahead.
I'm just saying, if you look at the spreadsheet, it has a number of tabs. I think there's like three or four different groups of items for sale. There's some ham stuff
I didn't. Hmm.
in one group, and there's a handful of Philcos that they didn't do much identification on. There's that one picture that has like about 10 Philcos and a couple of other little table radios.
Hmm.
Um, And then there's that one lot that maybe that's the ham lot. I get them confused, but there's one lot that has a Zenith. Is it 6S, 7S? Yeah, 7S 363 console at the very end. So I think there's about four different groups of stuff after Dick's
Hmm.
collection.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dick didn't bring any nice radios to the last sale. And I asked him about that, and he said, "Well, nobody ever buys any of them anyway." So, got tired of hauling them around. But he sold stuff at the expo center. I forgot what that's called, for many years, and he would actually sell uh, quite a few items there.
Yeah, the hobby was well represented in that at those events with him there.
Yeah, I mean those were huge events. I think they have them twice a year.
They were. I don't know if they still do or not, but
I don't either. I don't think so. But yeah, it was gigantic.
All right, I'm back. It looks like my internet connection dropped for a minute. But yeah, we can get started for tonight's topic. And that is homemade radios or like homemade tools to work on radios. Or just, things that you've created to help along in radio repair and restoration. I'm curious to see what you guys use, what you've come up with. And it can be super simple or complicated, whatever you've made homemade. I'm curious to see what you guys have.
well, I can, I guess, kick it off.
Yeah,
Uh,
go for it.
so this is going to be kind of a repeat. If you read the March issue of the call letter, I just put together a little bit of a uh, article on my newfound Bluetooth knowledge. Some of you may have
No,
remembered. I asked some questions about Bluetooth a while back and got lots of good responses. In particular, Mike McCrow and Martin Moore gave me a lot of good data for how to get Bluetooth into radios, old radios, and then generally how to approach Bluetooth. Two different subjects, but I had a particular need in that I've been having a lot of, well, not a lot of trouble, but a lot of time to explore Atwater Kent audio sections. In particular, all about the bad transformers and that sort of stuff. So we've constantly been using other transformers other than AK transformers to get things going.
Mm-hmm.
The old PT 156 is kind of a standard for a lot of that, a 1 to 3 interstage transformer that gets used a lot. But when it comes to, and those work actually real good in the battery sets, but when it comes to the model 55 and 60, I've noticed they haven't been quite as sweet as some of them. So I wanted to start exploring that. Well, I didn't have the tools to do it. Now, I could have gone out and bought the tools, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
That's no fun. And I needed a project to work with my grandkids. So looking at the stuff that Martin had put together, if you ever get to see his YouTube videos, they're interesting. But one of the things he introduced me to was this little guy. And this little guy is the heart and soul of Bluetooth. If you haven't been around it before, you can buy them for about $2 a piece if you buy 5 of them on Amazon there. But included in that is a little jack there for 3mm headphones, and the antenna's right there. And what you have to supply this is anywhere from 3 to 5 volts or so. I chose 3 AA batteries and a power switch and some hookup wire, and 3D printed a box and ended up with this. Now, what's all this is got a headphone jack, so it makes a wireless headphones, right? And it pairs up, and you can listen to your songs for, I don't know, $4 or $5 worth of parts. What I needed it for was I could find an app for my phone that would produce all the audio signals that I needed in sine wave form or all the different forms. And I just needed a way to get it into my AM transmitter so I could transmit it through and start doing frequency response charts for this device. Well, and so that worked out real well. I just plugged the audio in, and sure enough, I was getting it out and was and able to do quite a bit of work with it. And I won't get into it too far, but one of the things I was really curious about was how Atwater Kent actually got the flat audio response that he did across the band that he was actually chasing for, because modern components don't seem to get me there. So when you change out the transformer, radically different performance. But the other big question has always been in something called the quality capacitor. And in an Atwater Kent, what they do is in that final audio stage, they have a capacitor that goes across the two plates and a push-pull amplifier going into the transformer. But they never tell you what the specs of that capacitor are. They just simply call it a quality capacitor. And nowhere is it spec'd. Well, if you go online and you get help from the guys that know, they'll generally say, yeah, put in a 0.01 because that just feels right. But I pulled out, froze it and busted it out and got the quality cap out and measured it. And it was coming out about 0.11 microfarads, which is huge for that particular application if you get to thinking about how it would round off the sound. But the kicker was, it was showing up with about 40% power factor. Well, I don't know whether you guys have been around capacitors, testers much and the thought about power factor, but most of the time we think of that as a deteriorated capacitor that we have to get rid of and replace. Turns out, I decided to check another one, and I have about 4 or 5 chassis that are junk sets, and I pulled out the quality capacitors. They are so friggin' consistent. They range from 0.11 to 0.14 across these 4 quality caps that I have. They all measure 40% power factor. This was designed into these devices. And it really does an incredible thing when it starts talking about what it's going to do to the roll-off curve. I kept looking for resistors. I took one apart, looking for something that might look like a resistor in amongst all that. It's just looks like capacitor parts. It doesn't look like there's anything else in there. And it turns out from the research that I've done that apparently they did it with the dielectric. They actually have a contaminated dielectric in there that causes this 40%. But what's really cool about it is you get into the technology and you think about how did they do this in 1929? But it's actually a frequency dependent resistor is what happens in the middle of all that. And it shapes that response curve differently than you would ever really imagine it doing. Now, as I read more about it, they used the same technology for snubbers back in the day. And so they had some experience with that. But it was really absolutely shocking me. So the whole point of all this was to run various frequencies through it and see what it did to the audio output. And sure enough, it is different than anything I could create with modern components. And I've been trying to figure out what I'm going to do with that newfound knowledge and got more research to do. But I now have a toy to be able to begin doing some of them. So I'm doing silly things like, plotting out curves, response curves on logarithmic scales and so on, trying to understand what I have. And the other piece of that is the transformers themselves. I'm discovering that Atwater Kent actually wanted that first audio transformer to oscillate or have a peak response, go into resonate at a particular frequency at about 100 hertz. And you think, now that's an interesting place to make an audio transformer peak artificially. But it was because they wanted to bump up the low end response of the radio. And so they had to have a transformer that had a lot of inductance. It had to be able to create a separate little tuned circuit. They use the plate of the tube to dampen it, so it's a fairly wide Q of response. But the result is they can get an incredibly flat response down to about 100 hertz and all the way. And they always like to roll things off at about 2,500 cycles. They didn't want anything higher than that. The speakers generally didn't go that high anyway. But for 1929 technologies, I've been just absolutely amazed at the little nuggets that are starting to come out of this and the appreciation for what those engineers were capable of doing back in that day, and my inability to reproduce it with modern components. So anyway, so that's what this was all about, was to give me the tool that would be able to start looking at some of those issues. So anyway, long story for a silly little thing, but we all go down rabbit holes. This happens to be one of mine.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like just learning about like how they created all that, just starting from just being curious about something, and now you know a lot more about it
Yeah.
than you ever would have. So yeah.
Anyway, for what it's worth.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Mhm.
All right, anybody else have any homemade radios or tools or something they had to come up with to make something work?
I guess I can. You guys have probably seen all of my stuff already. You know about the AM generator that I did, um,
Mhm.
and then one of my favorite ones I use regularly, which I've also shown, is this uh, capacitance discharge. It's really simple and well worth making. It's nothing more than let's see, what is it? Yeah, six diodes and two LEDs. And you can put this, and I think there's a resistor too. Yep, there's two resistors. And you can just put this right across the capacitor and it'll light up so you can see that it's charged. And then as it discharges, you'll see the light dim. And you can do that on pretty much any voltage. It's not going to blow it up. So that's really nice. And the two LEDs are there because you don't really care about polarities. So it'll always light up no matter which way you have the polarity on. Either one will light up or the other one. But this is great for discharging capacitors. I can put the schematic in the chat again if anybody wants it, but it's real simple. Um, and then I'm redesigning it, but this is my dim bulb tester. And I ended up just buying some sockets off of Amazon that have a switch on it. And so I could, turn on different bulbs that I want. And then I've got a power meter built into it. And this is just in some basic metal boxes. And then I've got I can turn the whole thing on or off, or I can
Hmm.
override it if I want to. And then I could turn on different bulbs so I can have different levels of um, um, current limiting. I'm finding that I don't really need all the different levels. There's a couple times I've wanted a higher one or a lower one, but I'm redesigning this to where I'm going to do it in a little bit smaller form factor and then put the bulb, build a 3D printed box to where I can have the bulb inside and it'll be protected a little bit more. I'm always worried about breaking the bulbs, but in general, this works really well. I use this all the time. And I really like having the power meter in it because then I can, if I've got it on a Variac or something, I can see exactly what it is and I can also monitor the current. So
So, so Mike, are you saying you have different wattage bulbs?
I do.
That's what it is.
I've got a 40, a 60, and a 100. And then I can put them together because if I want to make it because they're
Okay.
let's see, I think they're all in parallel, so I can just if I want to increase the current or decrease the current, I can do that by just turning on different bulbs.
Hmm.
It depends. I
Nice.
mean, I've only had a few things to where I was working on a induction cooktop that ended up having the driver MOSFETs. Actually, they were uh, not MOSFETs, but it doesn't matter. It's essentially the same thing. And they were shorted. And so it was blowing the fuse. So, I put it on the dim bulb tester, but by default, it had a lot of current going through it. So I had to up it, have a little bit higher bulb just to be able to do that. Most of the time, like a 40 or 60 watt will be all you need. And I always use a dim bulb tester. I didn't do it once, and I learned from that. That was a mistake. I think I mentioned that before. On an old tube tester, the wiring actually caught on fire. I had flames and smoke. So
Wow. Lots of excitement there.
yeah, fortunately it was in my shop, and I had a metal table and stuff. But yeah, I turned it on and I thought, oh, I got it at one of the auction events really cheap, and I thought, well, I'll plug it in and see. And I plugged it in. I opened it up and it looked okay. Plugged it in, and then I didn't see anything, and then all of a sudden there was like this little poof, and the wires started burning, and I go, okay, yeah, this is why you always current limit everything. That's pretty much it. I mean, I've got a few other things, but I made um, a continuity tester that beeps. Um, you may think, well, that's kind of boring, but what I did was I used an op amp circuit to where I could actually control the amount of current going into it. So by doing that, it allows me to actually dial what the beep voltage is, what the beep resistance is. So I can have it beep at 100 ohms or clear down to like zero point 0.1 ohms. So if I'm doing some tracing, that's one problem with the beeping continuity testers. You don't want to always trust that because, a lot of them will beep at like 40, 50 ohms. And if you're trying to track down a bad ground or something, you really don't want to just count on the beep. Oh, it's connected, because it might be connected, but it might be high resistance. That's pretty much it. I'm always building stuff, but um, probably the signal generator is the big one. I use
Yeah.
that all the time.
Yeah, and thanks for designing and sharing that with us again. That's really cool.
Glad to do it. I might make some changes to it. I'll For anyone that built one, I'll send out some updates, because one of the things that I'm finding that I really want to do is have a square wave output, and the chip supports that. So I'll just a couple tiny circuit modifications. We should be able to flip a switch and make it square wave also.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
and that'll be useful if you want to do some distortion analysis or something like that on an audio output. Um, I have two presentations that I'll be able to do in the future. I finally got my one on audio distortion and all of that. I think I've got that to where we can do that next week. And then
Okay.
I've got another one that I can do that I'm just about done with, that's going to talk about the different input levels, like auxiliary, phono, CD, tape, all of
Hmm.
those kind of things, what the differences are. And I'll also go into the RIAA um, um, issues with the phono, and why that's there.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
You guys probably know more about it than I do, but I'll present and then we'll have a really good discussion.
Yeah, I remember reading about that a few years ago, but that doesn't mean I remember most of what I read.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And actually, Myron got me inspired. We were talking one time on this group about it, and then it caused me to go do a lot more research and build a. And actually, that's something else, is an inverse RIAA, so you can actually send a signal generator in, have it do the conversion for you, like what a record would look like, and then
Hmm.
run it through your system.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's all I have.
Well, thanks for sharing. Yeah. Anybody else have homemade devices or thing that they've made for
So
radio
I,
repair?
I got this thing here that somebody gave me a long time ago, and it's a little transmitter that you can hook up an audio source to, and it will transmit at whatever AM frequency. And the thing about it is, this came from Antique Electronics back in the day, like in the mid '90s or something,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a clone of a circuit that Zenith used to have a remote phonograph
Huh.
uh, in one of their sets. I don't know the exact set. So it's a pretty simple circuit. It's a 12SA7, and it's got a little coil on there, and the power supply, and this transformer, outputs filament voltage plus a 15 milliamp. What does it say? 125 volt uh, for the high power supply. So it's just a the high voltage power supply. So it's just a half wave rectifier, and I guess you would move the slug in the oscillator coil to change the frequency of it. Uh, the um, so I've actually never used it, but it does it should work. But it's built on a pine board, so that's kind of a cool piece of it, or fir
Mhm.
perhaps.
Yeah, yeah.
Is
But
that a is that a transmitter or a power source?
it's a transmitter, so it
It
has
is a transmitter,
yes.
not just a huh.
So it
All
has an
right.
AM, oscillator. The 12SA7 is a converter,
Yeah.
tube, and so it has
I was just looking at
an antenna connection and an audio connection. So uh, this is, from back in the day. I don't know if it would work with a phonograph, but it would work with a Walkman or something, that you could use for audio source. Uh, so they don't make them anymore. Strangely, I guess now it's all Bluetooth or whatever is the
Uh,
modern way. So
well
anyway,
they do.
I don't think AES sells them anymore, but I could be wrong, I guess.
I was just looking at this one's called a Thermatron, Michigan, the Mighty Mite. Uses a bulb, looks a lot like that, but he created a power source for it, power supply. Hmm. But the power supply doesn't have the bulb. It's the transmitter that has the tube on it. Yeah.
hmm.
Well, like I say, I don't remember, and it's not. I mean, I've got the schematics here, but it doesn't say. Uh, I think it
This one,
used to say in the catalog that it was based
yeah.
off a
The one I was
particular.
looking at is for doing CW on the HF bands.
Oh,
So
sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, I understand this probably doesn't have very good distortion specs or anything like that, but
yeah.
it's simple. That's its strong point.
Yeah. Yeah. Build it on a board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the instructions first show you where to drill the holes on the board, and
That's
Seems like
cool.
then
it's
where to put the
yeah.
screws and everything.
Seems like they called those a pine board radio of some or something like that. That's because that's what they built them on.
Well, I remember when I was in the Boy Scouts, I built a one tube radio, and it was on a board, but
Breadboard.
it used batteries,
Yeah, breadboard.
a 90-volt battery, and a I don't know if it was a 1.5 volt battery. I guess because it was only a one tube radio, so it was just a TRF set, as I recall. It was built on a piece of wood too, for sure. So that's about all I've got. I
Hmm.
was thinking, I didn't, first I thought I had nothing, but you said, oh, things that were built. So,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that counts. Yeah, I don't really have much. Yeah, I don't, nothing comes to mind on my end. Did anybody go to the Rickreal Hamfest?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah. How was it?
There was a ton of people there.
Oh, good. That's
I
good.
got there, I got there about 10 o'clock or so, and I had to park almost clear over by the museum. I mean, the parking lot was pretty full. And Dick was there with a bunch of old radios.
Yeah.
I don't know how well he did, but there was a number of the guys from the club that were there. So
Uh-huh.
um
Yeah, I
I
think Lee was there and someone else went with him,
yeah,
I thought.
yeah. I do the ham radio. I'm involved with the Aries group, so we had Aries meetings afterwards at 12:30. But there was it's from the people I've heard said that most of them did fairly well. So most of the tables were selling stuff.
That's good.
Yeah.
Did you get anything?
Only out of the free box. I told myself I wasn't coming home with more than so. So I picked up a couple things off the free boxes, but other than that, no, I'm starting to work on things. I got a signal tracer that I picked up at the Hoarder House. Um, this is it's a NRI signal tracer, and I went and recapped it, and I've got a bad tube in it. It's a 6SK7 tube that I'm gonna have to replace but I was using Mike's signal generator to run signals through because it has an RF and an AF cord that stick out, and you can just run them right through there. Or I check I, just for fun, I check the speaker and just to see how things work. But anyway, so I've got a bad tube, so I got to replace the tube before I can probably make it work right. So I'm using those homemade
Yeah,
things.
there you go.
But I haven't been doing this long enough to really have a lot myself, so not yet.
Well, thanks for letting me know you use it. That's good.
Yeah, yeah, it sits right here. I said, I'm going to send a signal through there and see what I get. So
Yeah, might as well.
yeah, I get signals through on the AF side, but not on the radio side. So I think that must have been which one the tube was bad. So actually, for a little while I was getting a radio station, but it was so faint I couldn't hardly hear it. So from one thing to another. I understand they got one more day at the Hoarder House. I might go over since it's so close and see if
Yeah,
see if they uncovered anything else.
yeah.
That place was just buried. Yeah.
The people I talked with said that it was hard to find things put together. Everything was disassembled. Did you find stuff that was assembled?
There were a few things that were assembled. Yeah, there was like this signal tracer I mean, it was all there and it wasn't torn apart. A lot of things, all the screws are out of them. Screws are out of them, and then you open it up and there's a bag with stuff in it. And yeah, just I mean, there was no rhyme or reason. Old guns, radios, test equipment to machining, old clocks. He did tons of old cuckoo clocks.
Huh.
Bags. I think I found a bag in one of my boxes that had bags of parts for a cuckoo clock in it. But no, I picked up a couple of things there a little Heathkit multiplier. I don't even know what it is, but I think it said it's a multiplier. Couple odds and ends. I mean, the price was right, so picked up a few Sam's books, the green ones, the Nationals. Brought those
Uh-huh.
home. I probably won't keep them, but no, I mean, but yeah, most of the stuff was just in bits and pieces. So you have to keep going back to find the pieces you were missing because
Yeah.
I
See
mean,
what
it
you're
was
missing and then see if you can find
I mean,
them.
honestly, when you climbed into the living room, you were 3 feet off the floor. You were just walking on things. I picked up a radio. I don't know what I've got it out in the garage. I'm not even sure what it is. It's an old battery radio, but the chassis was broken because somebody had already stepped on it and tore the back of the not the chassis, the cabinet was broken on the back. So when I get around to it, I'll fix that and see if the radio. I think that one may be missing all the tubes. Come to think of it. I think I have 4 tubes. I think it's a 4 tube. Anyway, yeah. I mean, you couldn't get around without walking on stuff. So we'll see. We'll see if I don't know if they've cleaned it up any at all or not.
Did you want to take a quick look at the pictures from the auction on Saturday?
Yeah, might as well.
See if I can do it here.
Share the screen.
Yeah, I was gonna look at that.
Yep, there it is.
Okay, I think this is the Google share thing.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And so this is just whatever order they're in here. This is obviously the test equipment stuff. And my scroll thing is kind of erratic. So the M stands for whoever the person was whose estate this is. It's like I don't have the spreadsheet up. I should have the spreadsheet up, which has the names of all this stuff. But there's a couple of testers, power supply. Is that a scope? M4? Must be
Yeah,
a scope.
that's an oscilloscope. They call it something different, but it's an oscilloscope.
Okay. Yeah, it says delta measurements or something on it I'm looking at, but yeah. There's a M8 as a tester. M7, that must be like a transistor tester or something.
Yeah, that's a transistor tester.
And then 9 is another tube tester. 11, that's a code generator, right? So
yeah, that runs on paper tape. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, the tape
Paper
would do Morse code, and then you would, I guess, if you were good, you would transcribe it, and you could probably change the speed on it, right? I guess.
Well, that was pre-Morse code, wasn't it?
No.
Because
Yeah,
and then they decided they were too slow, and the guys would just bypass it and Morse code without them. I don't know.
I think it was a trainer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
that
what I was
could be
thinking.
too.
You'd play the tape, and then the idea was you could transcribe it,
Hmm.
and you could, unless you memorize the thing, then you could speed it up, and the next time you could do it, better. I guess I don't know. So yeah, you could train, and then M10, that's like an antenna tuner, right?
Yep.
I forgot what the name of it is, but you said select antenna.
Yep.
You put that behind your radio, and then it helps tune in the stations, I guess. I've never used one of those. And then that last one, that's a 7S363, which I don't know if Gary Marvin's coming, but that's one of his favorite radios to refinish. And then this is the ham stuff. I don't know what letter goes with this, and it doesn't seem to have any numbers. I mean, the first one's like a full up ham setup, right? I don't know. Yeah, this is out of my league.
Yeah.
An SWR analyzer, that's good, yeah. And there must be a bunch of rechargeable handheld stuff on the bottom left. And then I'd recognize this as being the beginning of Deal Snyder's stuff. Again, I don't have the spreadsheet up, so forgive me if I don't get the model numbers right here. But that's an early Zenith, 1933 or something?
Yeah.
Then I think that's a Silvertone portable. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have the spreadsheet up. I don't have two screens here. Forget what the one in the middle is.
That's now, and probably, that'd be a 165 maybe?
An Atwater Kent, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I think you're right. I remember that. Then a Mantola. Somebody else should bring up the spreadsheet.
Yeah, I just did, but I'm looking
Yeah.
at I'm looking at the numbers, but
I think these are in order.
Yeah, I think so. It's so far they seem to be.
go Zenith, Philco, Atwater, Mantola, Atwater, Kent,
Yeah, so
Unknown.
here we are, Atwater Kent.
Yeah, a
and then
545.
Yeah.
and then
And
Unknown,
Unknown,
yep,
yep.
Unknown. Silvertorn 4563.
right?
And then a Delco 1105.
There's the Delco.
Hmm.
Then this tall thing.
It's a RCA 6T2
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice looking radio.
37. Huh. Then a
Big.
Crossley 127.
Yeah, that's cute. It's big too, but the
Looks
wood is
like it.
nice. It's got that white wood at the bottom and the top.
And that dark accent. Huh.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Crossley Admiral 47.
Yeah, that little table radio guy. Then the next one's a Zenith.
Yep. 7S 432.
Yeah,
Then
so
a
that would be 1940
Zenith. Yep. 1940.
model year.
Western Air Patrol.
Yeah, don't see too many of those.
Huh.
I think that I read about that. That was Western Auto brand, but only on the West Coast.
Huh.
The East Coast was True Tone. And they were actually made on the West Coast and the East Coast, respectively. Then this next one with the little dial in the middle, what's that?
That's a
Gilfillan?
Gilfillan
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
52 1T-C. Huh.
I believe those were made in LA.
That's one I hadn't heard of either. Huh. Gilfillan. Then a Westinghouse.
Yeah, I bet you that's 1934 or 33.
What's it say? This says
It's
39.
39.
Oh, is it really late? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I just remember some Philcos that were earlier. Yeah, the
Yeah, it's got the iTube.
the iTube would make it 30, 37, 38, 39.
I
Then there's
like the look of that one. That one's got a nice look.
the
It
Yeah.
does have a
style,
nice look.
the styling. Yeah, there were some Philcos that had that
Yeah.
swoopy look, but they were earlier, like 34 or something.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well,
Then
the
this-
starting price shows it too.
Yeah.
The next one's a Zenith. What's that? 6S 27.
Yeah, so that's 1935
Six
or
is what they have
1936
on
model
here.
1936 model year.
Yeah.
And that has the wheat thing in the middle of it.
Yeah.
They-
For delay.
It doesn't show you how big this is. That thing is about 2 feet tall.
Wow.
It's a
Awesome.
monster and like 14 inches deep. I mean, it's just a monster. And I have one of those that looks just exactly the same, but it's a farm set that runs off a 6-volt battery.
Battery.
Then this is a Philco.
Yep. Philco 41 255.
There's so many variations of those.
Yeah.
That one has the plastic dial. Then this next one, is that a Zenith?
Zenith. Yep. Then a Gun Grunau.
Granau.
Grunau. An
That's
RC.
really weird with the black diamond in the middle.
Yeah.
Kind
Almost looks like
of
a
plain.
whole RCA. Yep.
And then the giant Zenith console.
Big Zenith. Yep.
Then this is not Mr. Deal Snyder's here. We're into the next group, I think.
Is this a Yeah, I don't know. They're
That
gonna have a
was, I think,
teletalk.
This is the dancing nymph that was labeled.
I don't
And
know.
the model number was dancing nymphs.
oh yeah, that's Juanita's.
Yeah.
Those still need to be picked up. I think we're doing that Saturday morning.
Okay. And then this is I don't know what from battery set era.
either a
Hmm.
radiola or an RCA.
I think it is a radiola. Yeah, it's got the speaker
Hmm.
Hmm.
That one might be an RCA. I don't know.
with the horn. That's cast iron horn. Nice.
And then the last one for this one, it just says unknown on the spreadsheet.
With the cabinet
Uh-huh.
doors. Then here's the what I was talking about, a bunch of Philcos all stacked up. So
Yeah.
everything's a Philco except for what's under the table,
Yeah.
basically. Um,
Says there's two unknowns, a Sonora and an airline.
right. But all the others are Philco. One, two, three, four, five, six,
Hmm.
seven Philcos. All look pretty nice. The lower left one is, photo finish, I believe. And it looks pretty
Yeah, it looks
nice.
like it.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
looks pretty nice for a photo finish. And I think the one on the total on the right is like a Model 60. Somehow that sticks in my mind. And the one on the right at the middle might be a 90. I'm not sure. There are different ones that look like that. Then this is an intercom. Ah, there we go. I should have done this before.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I just did that on my screen to zoom in on a little
It's
bit.
like, okay, yeah. Western Electric Teletalk. This was a intercom. It looks like it supported 6 different stations or 5 different stations and the master maybe
Huh.
or something like that. Yeah, I should have zoomed in already.
I think that's Western, not Western.
Western Electric,
I think it
Western
says
Air Patrol,
Western.
Western Air Patrol. This particular one is a Western. Oh, I see. There's a, it says simplex in the bottom of the discussion, I think. Yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway, sorry I didn't think of the zooming earlier, but I think that's the end of the album in any case. So yeah, hope we have a good turnout, and
Yeah.
I feel kind of like Cliff. I wouldn't mind having one radio just
Yeah,
because
just to have one.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Hmm.
exactly.
Yep, because I remember I didn't really know Dick all that much. But I know, even before I joined the club, and I'd go to the swap meets, he'd always be there with those radios that he was selling. So,
Well, he ran the swap meets when we were at the Multnomah, what's now the Multnomah Arts Center in Multnomah.
oh,
And I took those over from him probably in 96 or 95 or something like
yeah.
that.
Well before my time.
So I got to visit him over there and in his house. And he was talking about how, as an electrician, he'd just, made a whole bunch of money working for the construction of the Intel plant at Ronler Acres.
Oh, uh-huh.
So that was probably the last thing he did before he retired, I think. So that was a pretty good project for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked there many, many years at the Runler Acre plant.
Yeah, yeah.
I was on the inside.
Well, the history of that was it was platted off as a suburb or something like that of Hillsboro, but it never had utilities or anything, and so there was only even though it was platted off for 100 houses or something like that, there was only 3 or 4 houses out there. And then the city of Hillsborough went out and bought all those property owners out individually so that they could sell the property to Intel all as one piece. But it was so in the middle of nowhere at the time that it was kind of trashy. People would go out there and dump trash and stuff. So they had to clean it up before Intel could take over. But that's where it got its name, that was the name of the subdivision.
Yeah, they named almost all their plants after the original owners of the land. That's where like Hawthorne Farms came from, and
And
a
Jones
couple
Farm.
others.
Jones Farm.
Jones Farm.
Well, I hope to see everybody on Saturday.
Yeah, at least for a little bit anyway.
Okay.
Okay, see you.
See ya.
Yep. Have a good night.
Good night.
Night all.